Well, I don't know. It happened in spite of me, I think. When I read that book a long time ago for the first time, and it said lack of power was my dilemma. What I heard was lack of money was my dilemma. I had a money focus, and I had early on in my life, even before I started drinking and drugging alcoholically, I had become convinced that money meant freedom and security and power. So that's what I thought money would do for me. And when I finally got serious about this program the first time in 1986, after bouncing in and out for 4 years, I was broke. When I got here in 82, I was a millionaire. I had made more money than anybody in my family had ever made, more money than I've ever made since. And I was giving it all to the cocaine dealers. And I went into a treatment center, and I came out, and it just made no impact on me at all. I was just, I was trying to dial it back a bit. I was looking for Cut Way Back Anonymous. The whole God thing went right by me. I didn't care about it anyway. So the next 4 years, all that money went away, and another 600,000 went right behind it. And so when I crawled up into AA for real the first time in 1986, I read the book, but I still didn't really grasp it. I didn't get it. And I was in there playing let's make a deal. I wanted my money back. And I thought that the Post Oak Club was the place to get it. I had no interest in the 24-hour club, I mean, those guys at the Post Oak Club drive some really nice cars. Somebody in here's got some money, and I can probably come up with an idea and help them relieve themselves of it. And so I was on the hustle. And so all this stuff about altruistic service to other people, one person helps another person, surrender to God, prayer, meditation, and all that went right by me. Absolutely. And so I had about 4.5 years of sobriety. That's what I call it. And I just didn't get it. I didn't get the third step prayer that says that my problem is bondage to me, to self. And I'm now convinced the book is absolutely right. We must be rid of this selfishness or it will kill us. And only God makes that possible, because I am not capable of overcoming my own selfishness. The book says I have to get down to causes and conditions. Once I had began to get some sobriety, the book invites me to get down deeper and find out what's really causing all of these issues. The things that make sobriety so hideously painful that I will go back to drinking and drugging even though I know it's killing me. And that they said I was going to follow these steps and have a change of a personality change sufficient to bring about recovery, is the way it's described in the footnote on spiritual experience. I didn't have any idea of what that was about. There was a lot of talk in here about character building. I had no interest in that. I just wanted to not drink and drug and get my money back. So I stood over and hung out with the people who would declare this is a selfish program. And I now realize that that's really not true. That's really not what the book says. That I have to be rid of this selfishness. I had to find a whole nother way of being in the world, and God would make that possible if I would work these steps sincerely. And so I had a 9-year relapse, trying to reconstruct the life I'd had before, and it took that 9 years for me to reach a place to bring me to my knees, figuratively and literally. The Morgan's Book of Good Ideas had no more chapters. And on November 17th, 1999, I was just done. I don't know. Since then, I went through this terrible suffering. I'd love to tell you I had this blinding spiritual experience and everything has been peaches and cream since then, kumbaya and all that. That was some of the worst suffering I ever went through in my life, was the months and couple of years leading up to my getting sober, staying sober this time. And then the first couple of months after I sobered up were horrible. They were just terrible. I was, it's detox. It's the poison was leaving my body. It's physical detox, emotional detox, psychological detox. It was awful. But something in me had broken, and I was willing to take it, follow it wherever it led me. I didn't know. I didn't have any grand ideas about God. There's discussions about atheists. Believers think the existence of God can be proven, and atheists think the non-existence of God can be proven. And I was an agnostic because I didn't give a damn. I didn't care. What difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference to me, that God is or isn't. Who cares? Well, at some point, and I started to run out of Morgan, I reached this place where, there better be a God or I'm really screwed. Because if not, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And see, this is when the breakthrough, the breaking of the selfishness begins to happen, is when I began to realize I don't know what to do. I don't know. I couldn't stay loaded and I couldn't stay sober. I couldn't work and I couldn't not work. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't not sleep. I was in the dark in some terrible way. And it was at that point that I began to wake up, have a spiritual awakening. In the Bible it talks about in my weakness was my strength. See? Now the ego of Morgan wasn't about to do the weakness thing. I'm Morgan the Magnificent. I'm the smartest guy I ever met. I'm here to rule the world. And I'm not weak, I'm strong. Of course, I'm in complete bondage to madness, alcoholic and drug madness, but a whole bunch of other addictions and compulsions. But I think I'm in control. And I'm not, but I think I am. So this is the self-delusion. So I don't know. We call it, what I've just took a long, lengthy attempt to describe, is what we call hitting bottom. And somehow that's a deeper thing than just deciding one day that I'm going to start going to meetings. There is a brokenness that is acknowledged, and that brings to an openness to a God that's always been here, has always been doing for me what I could not do for myself. I was just blind to it. So I came back, and this is when I saw what the books, said. Crushed by a self-imposed crisis I could no longer ignore or avoid, I had to squarely face the proposition that either God is everything or God is nothing. And that's interesting. See, I thought Morgan was everything and I didn't care about God. Maybe the reverse is true. Maybe I of my own self am nothing and only God is real. The book says the great reality lies within us. And they capitalize that. I guess that's important, right? It echoes Christianity, where Jesus goes, it echoes the teachings of Jesus, about which I don't think Christianity has much connection with anymore. But Jesus went around saying, the kingdom of God is within you, and if you don't find it within yourself, you will not find it. It's not in the church. It's not in the holy city. It's not on the holy mountain. If you don't find it within yourself, you'll never find it. Now, a religion came along after the fact and said that, Jesus is God, and we worship him, and we're just hopeless sinners, or some such nonsense. And Jesus is going around saying, all that's true of me is going to be true of you if you will follow me, if you will follow my commandments. And the commandments are always about self-searching, leveling of pride, confession of shortcomings. Alcoholics Anonymous is first century Christianity, reestablished and offered as a program of recovery, not just from alcoholism and drug addiction, a recovery from 100 forms of fear and anger and guilt and shame and the misery of life that was making me so thirsty in those times when I wasn't drinking. And that's be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's what we're talking about, to have a new mind. And how it works, it took me a long time to realize that that chapter alludes but does not straight out say what it is that does the work. I now realize that what happens is if I follow the steps, and when I became sincerely willing to try to follow these steps and principles, it went to work on me. And that it I now call God. Because what I was involved in was getting rid of Morgan the Magnificent. And by the way, the process continues. It's not over. The ego dies really hard. Those old habit patterns, fear-driven habits of acting and speaking and thinking still reemerge. We call those character defects. In the past, they would call them demons. And I can tell you sometimes they seem like demons. I had anger issues for a long time. And that anger thing, it feels like a demon. And it would just rise up in me I was so angry for so long I had to drink and drug to keep from committing homicide on a regular basis. But But now I'm sober, and I have to see that that's there. That's why the book offers a solution to anger, and it's called prayer. God, save me from being angry. Take this from me. What is this force, this energy, this power, this negative power that can take me over in a heartbeat, and suddenly I want to murder everybody in the room? And that doesn't come up as much as it used to. But when I got here a long time ago, I was at 211 degrees. I could blink my eyes twice and become homicidal. It's all it would take. You look at me wrong and I want to kill you. And so I get 211. 1 degree, I boil over. Well, I was practicing these principles. I got down to 200, got down to 180. Most of the time these days I'm pretty much at room temperature. It's okay. I have a new way of being in the world, a new understanding of how these negative emotions operate in me, and therefore I'm able to live differently. But it's always about a power greater than myself. And the central principle behind all of these 12 steps is called humility. That's what we lack, is humility. And humility, to me, is the willingness to seek the will of God as a first resort rather than a last resort. My sense of it is that everybody seeks God at some point when the shit hits the fan. And suddenly we're all ready to start praying, right? No atheists in the foxholes, the way they used to say it. I've never been in a foxhole. I can remember being good and drunk and rolling down Interstate 20 outside of Atlanta at about 90 miles an hour, and suddenly I found one of these places where the road went, the road ended. The interstate highway went to an access road because they hadn't finished the bridge yet. And I'm doing this number, 360s, down the road trying to stop. I'm going, oh, God, help me. Yeah, well, I guess he did, because I finally came to a stop facing back toward the traffic with some stains on the seats. And I won't go any further than that, but that was terrifying. And I'm calling out to God, and then like five seconds later, so I forgot about that. Man, I'm a good driver. Now I acknowledge God in all things, and it works. God is real, and the ego is unreal. So I've learned how to and continue to practice living at the intersection of here and now, which is God's home. God never leaves home. I'm tempted to leave God's home on a regular basis with all of my fears and anticipations and plots and schemes and whatever. But I learned how to meditate. I'm learning how to pray and meditate even more. And it allows me to live at peace within myself more and more of the time. It's a wonderful way to live. I found in the spiritual life everything I thought I was going to find, or had found in alcohol and later other drugs. The book says people drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Does everybody in here buy that? You got it? This means yes. You like the effect produced by alcohol. First time you took it, right? Something happened. You liked it, right? Yeah, what was the effect? For me, the effect was this. I remember when I first had that false spiritual experience. I was a freshman in college. My drinking experiences in high school hadn't meant too much. Of course, this is a long time ago. This is the fall of 1964. And I was on this huge college campus, and I was homesick, and I was lonely, I was terrified. I left the library one night, and I went over to this place called The Shack, where, it really was a shack, and they would sell you beer if you could see over the bar. And so I had 3 or 4 beers, and then the effect happened. I had the effect. The fear went away. Suddenly, I was okay. And the music got better, and I got taller, and everything just seemed really, really okay. So what I'm saying is I drank to change the way I felt. And I really stress this with people. This is more of a feelings problem than a thinking problem. And I never took a drink or a drug to change the way I was thinking. I didn't go into a bar and go, well, I'm suffering from imprecise logic today. I think I'll have 8 or 9 shooters and see what happens, because I'm not thinking well. Well, it's kind of the reverse. It's like I feel like shit. I go into a bar, I have a few drinks, and I feel better, but now my thinking goes to hell. Where's my car, right? So anyway, but it was the feeling that drove me, that terrible sense of alienation, anxiety. There's a lot of words for it. A sense of being disconnected, and the sense of They sent around a memo today as to what everybody was supposed to wear and what they were supposed to do, and somehow I didn't get it. I call it the no pants in church nightmare. You know, and I would have these dreams like I'm in the wrong place. Oh my God, where am I? What? You know, they're all dressed up in suits and ties, and I came in a wetsuit with the scuba equipment. Nobody told me, you know. And I always had that feeling of being separated, disconnected, not knowing what to do. It was only when I came into AA that I found other people that would be honest enough to admit that they experienced that also. It's very common. By the way, I don't think it's an alcoholic problem. I think it's a human problem. But most people are living in such deep denial, the so-called normal people, that they don't want to admit that. It's a sign of weakness to admit that I'm frightened and angry and I don't really know, why I'm here or what to do. And no, it's a lot easier to say, I'm fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. So you get in a room full of 3 or 4 normal people, right? And say, how you doing, Morgan? And they're all saying how fine they are. And they come around to me and I go, well, I couldn't sleep very much last night because I have an impending sense of doom. And I live in a great deal of anxiety, and I'm having suicidal ideations. About that time, the room is empty. I'm the only one in the room. They've all left, And so I thought, God, I must be the most screwed up human being that ever lived. And so I just drank because I liked the effect. What was the effect? It made that sense of anxiety and alienation go away for a while. And somewhere along the line, as we say, I crossed some line. Who knows? Cucumbers and pickles and all that we talked about. We have different, metaphors for it. But at some point, I crossed a line that there was no going back to. No, and it was just no going back. And like it says in the book, we think that most problem drinkers, alcoholics, might well have been able to stop very early if they'd wanted to bad enough. But most of us were well past that time before we finally reached a point of desperation where we realized we couldn't. We couldn't stop. I was powerless. I had lost whatever power I had to get and stay sober. But anyway, what the book has taught me, when my revelations, my experience of God, this power of love, this everywhere present, has given me a sense of purpose, of connectedness, of all rightness, of I'm okay occupying the space that I occupy in God's creation. It's called peace or serenity, equanimity, even-mindedness. That's my pretty much everyday state now, and it's wonderful. And I don't need to drink alcohol to feel good. I feel good, and I found something useful to do, and I do it for free, and I do it for fun, and it involves sharing my experience, strength, and hope with other people who still haven't recovered. And I have plenty of experience, strength, and hope, so I'd be happy to share it with you. And I do it for free, and I do it for fun, and for the first time, it's in the last 10, 15 years, my life has meaning it never had before. That's the promise. It's not just going to be a never-ending till you die grind of not drinking and going to meetings. There will be a change of heart. Something will happen to the degree that you can become sincere about this. And the good news is that it's an action program, and I'll finish with this. I discovered that I didn't actually have to believe in all of this. I actually just had to do it. And then the belief followed. I knew a guy, he died with 57 years of sobriety. His name was Searcy W. He was a hoot, man. He sobered up about a month after I was born or some such thing. You met Searcy, yeah. And he used to say, the program is simple. Trust God, clean house, help others. And the good news is you don't have to do it in that order. You don't have to trust God. Just do it. Work with us, clean up the wreckage of the past, help a few other people along the way, and see what happens. It's called relaxing into faith. God is doing all the heavy lifting. It's going to be okay. Anyway, that's where I am today. Does that make any sense?
Of course it does.
I love you, Chuck. You guys, I love you. Really. Come join us.
Okay.